Venture into the untouched corners of our world, where tales inspired by true events lie in wait to unsettle the soul. Welcome to Creepy Narratives, where reality is often stranger than fiction. Documentary filmmaker Leo had always been captivated by unexplained events, and when he stumbled upon an old archive detailing the strange Dyatlov Pass Incident, he knew he had found his next project. In the frosty January of 1959, a passionate group of 9 seasoned hikers, led by Igor Dyatlov, set out on an expedition that promised adventure across the untouched snowscapes of the northern Ural Mountains. Brimming with youth and vigor, each member of the group brought with them a unique skill set, perfectly complementing one another. Their shared dreams of conquering the challenging terrains were well documented in their diaries and letters to loved ones, revealing a palpable excitement for the journey ahead. Tales of their expertise were known in their university, and many awaited their return to hear firsthand the tales of their latest trek. But as days turned into weeks, their anticipated return date came and went without any sign of them. The initial indifference soon transformed into a growing unease, prompting a search and rescue mission. When the team of rescuers finally stumbled upon their campsite, the scene they encountered defied logic and would baffle experts for decades to come. Their tent, robust and designed for harsh conditions, was torn apart from the inside, as if the inhabitants had been in a frantic rush to escape an unseen threat. Scattered belongings painted a story of hasty abandonment, warm jackets still folded neatly, boots aligned in pairs, and half-eaten meals now frozen in time. The air was eerily silent, with the desolation magnified by the vast expanse of white around. The only traces of the group were footprints in the snow, some barefoot, others in socks, leading away in a chaotic pattern. As Leo meticulously retraced their steps, he stumbled upon a camera roll, protected in a watertight casing. The developed photographs provided a haunting glimpse into their final days. Initially, the images showcased the group in high spirits, smiling and posing against the backdrop of the majestic mountains, their faces flushed from the biting cold, but eyes sparkling with joy. They depicted mundane moments like setting up camp or preparing meals, encapsulating the camaraderie of a close-knit group. However, as he leafed through the stack, the tone of the photographs shifted dramatically. Among the plethora of cheerful images, certain shots sent shivers down Leo's spine. One depicted an out-of-focus figure in the distance, standing eerily still amid a snowstorm, barely discernible yet undeniably there. In another, orbs of ethereal light floated, illuminating the night's darkness. Their inexplicable appearance contrasted starkly against the logical demeanor of the group. The final image was perhaps the most unsettling, an up-close shot of one of the hikers' eyes, widened in terror, reflecting an unseen horror. The weight of the discovery sat heavily on Leo's chest, for these photographs hinted at a narrative far removed from a routine trek gone awry. The Ural Mountains, in all their pristine beauty, seemed to have whispered secrets to the hikers, secrets they perhaps wished they had never heard. Deep within the local communities of the Ural region, stories had been passed down through generations about the ethereal guardians of the mountains, known colloquially as the mountain spirits. While Leo's initial inquiries were often met with reluctance or silence, with persistence and a gentle approach, he managed to convince some of the older locals to share what they knew. With each interview, a tapestry of legends began to take shape. Elderly women, their faces lined with age and eyes filled with a mixture of fear and reverence, would recount tales of their ancestors encountering these spirits. They were described as beings of light, protective of the mountain's sanctity, ensuring that its silent laws were adhered to. There were certain times, particularly during specific lunar cycles, when it was forbidden to tread upon certain paths. It was believed that those who ignored these warnings would invoke the wrath of these spirits, who would then mete out punishment or lure the trespassers into traps from which they might never return. Leo's discovery of the hikers' bodies further intensified the enigma. Expert autopsy reports cataloged a bizarre range of injuries. While a few of the team showed the heartbreaking but straightforward signs of hypothermia, Others displayed trauma that didn't fit any logical narrative. Ribs were crushed inward with a force that no human could inflict. Eyes were eerily absent, and most disconcerting were the high levels of radiation found on their clothing. The coroner was left confounded by their skin, which exhibited a surreal orange hue, and their hair, which had inexplicably turned a silvery gray shade. These details did not correlate with any known condition or external environmental factor. Undeterred by the mounting eerie circumstances and driven by a need to find answers, Leo decided to walk in the hiker's footsteps. With his trusty camera and a heart full of determination, he embarked on the same trek they had undertaken. Every step, every turn he hoped would provide a missing piece to the puzzle. But the Ural Mountains, ancient and majestic, kept their enigmas shielded. During one particularly lonely night, as Leo camped not far from where the hikers had set their fateful camp, the stillness of the mountains was interrupted. The canvas of the night sky was suddenly adorned with undulating lights, weaving and dancing in intricate patterns. These were no mere northern lights or identifiable aircraft maneuvers. As he tried to capture this phenomenon, his camera began to glitch, and the battery, fully charged just hours before, depleted rapidly. The ambient temperature, already cold, plummeted further, making every breath visibly crystalline. It was on his last night, when the weight of the unresolved mystery bore heavily on him, that the most inexplicable event occurred. As he prepared to retire, the silence of the night was shattered by his radio coming to life. A cacophony of static ensued, but within that randomness, a voice emerged. It was a soft, fearful whisper in Russian, the words chillingly familiar, echoing the sentiment found in the hiker's last diary entry. "I don't know what's happening." Morning found Leo shaken but resolute. The mountains had shared a glimpse of their enigma, but their full story remained tantalizingly out of reach. With the haunting beauty of the Urals in his rear-view mirror, Leo returned to his life, burdened with an enigma that consumed his every thought. The vast mountain range, which had stood timeless and majestic, whispered tales of ages past, secrets held close, and memories of souls lost. The Dyatlov Pass Incident was just one of its many mysteries, and it felt like the mountains had allowed him just a fleeting glimpse into the vast tapestry of enigmas it cradled. As he pored over his footage, editing and assembling his documentary, Leo felt the weight of responsibility. He was acutely aware that he was not just narrating an unsolved mystery, but was also echoing the voice of those 9 hikers, whose joyous journey had ended in an inexplicable tragedy. When the documentary finally aired, it sent ripples across the globe. Viewers, old and young, were drawn into the chilling narrative. Forums and discussion groups sprang to life, with theories, both scientific and supernatural, debated fiercely. But beyond the speculations and arguments, there was a universal acknowledgement of the profound mystery of the Dyatlov Pass Incident. Leo's work served as a poignant reminder that our world, as vast and explored as it may seem, still holds corners where the unknown reigns supreme. And while human nature drives us to seek answers, some riddles, like the tragic fate of the hikers in the Ural Mountains, serve as humbling reminders that not everything is meant to be understood. In the dense forests of Yamagata Prefecture, Japan, lies Mount Haguro, a place shrouded in legends, ancient rituals, and unsolved mysteries. In the late summer of 1983, a group of 5 hikers, avid adventurers from Tokyo, decided to undertake the journey to explore the mountain's lesser-known trails. On the verdant trails of Mount Haguro, the 5 hikers found themselves particularly entranced by whispers of the old stone steps leading to the Sanjin Gosaiden shrine. This mysterious path, relics of a time long past from the 8th century, beckoned not just with its historical allure, but with a darker, more haunting call. Local lore whispered of the enigmatic phantom 25th step, though officially, the grand stone stairway comprised 2,446 steps. Seasoned villagers would sometimes, after a drink or two, hesitatingly mention the existence of an additional unrecorded 25th step in one particular segment of the staircase. It wasn't merely its unaccounted existence that piqued curiosity. It was the foreboding legend attached. Stepping on it as Twilight's embrace began was said to offer a one-way journey, not to the summit, but into the spirit realm itself, pulling the unsuspecting traveler into an eternity away from our world. While most considered the tale a mere bedtime story for children, or a cautionary fable for wayward travelers, the group of hikers saw it as a thrilling challenge. Their youthful exuberance turned this grim fable into a playful quest. Each had a video camera, eager to document what they believed would be a whimsical adventure that would make for a fascinating story back home. As they began their ascent, the ambience of the surroundings started to assert its dominance. A thick, verdant canopy, ancient in its splendor, cast shadowed patterns on the ground. The sun, though still present, had to fight its way through the interlaced foliage. A deafening silence engulfed them, broken only by sporadic, almost mournful caws of ravens that seemed to watch them from the treetops. Their path was intermittently adorned by moss-covered shrines and grand torii gates, relics of an age and culture that respected the spirits of the land. Though initially buoyant, as dusk approached, the reality of their surroundings began to take hold. The air grew dense, the temperature dropped, and a gentle mist began rolling in. Their quest to count and find the elusive 25th step, which began in jest, now took on an ominous tone. The video camera, initially used to capture light-hearted banter and scenic beauty, now recorded their escalating tension. Every segment they counted, they'd find themselves losing track, their focus hampered by the mounting eeriness. What started as giggles transformed into hushed tones and anxious glances. In the vastness of the mountains and the thick woods, they felt an unsettling smallness. Each segment of steps they approached was counted with bated breath. The weight of the legend, combined with the unsettling ambiance, turned their playful search into a suspenseful quest for a step that might very well be the boundary between the world of the living and the beyond. As the embrace of twilight grew tighter around Mount Haguro, an unmistakable tension began to weave its way into the group. The playful banter and laughter that once filled the air began to wane, gradually replaced by a stifling stillness. The video footage, which initially documented joy and camaraderie, suddenly took a chilling turn. It became clear from the video that the group had a moment of harrowing realization. Yuki, their vivacious companion, known for her infectious laughter and charm, was nowhere to be seen. The last clip of her depicted a cheerful Yuki, a few steps behind the others, her voice light and teasing as she playfully hopped and counted the steps of a stair segment. The footage that followed depicted a sharp descent into palpable terror. The dimming light of the setting sun and the thickening fog created a claustrophobic setting. Calls for Yuki grew increasingly desperate. "Yuki! Yuki! Can you hear us?" Each call was met with nothing but the mocking echo of their own voices, bouncing back from the dense forest, giving no clue as to Yuki's whereabouts. Every beam from their torches seemed feeble, barely penetrating the thick darkness, making the vast forest appear even more menacing. As the shadows played tricks on their eyes, morphing and twisting, every rustle of leaves or snap of twigs amplified their anxiety. The forest, which earlier seemed like a welcoming embrace of nature, now felt like a labyrinthine trap, hiding unknown perils in every dark corner. The video's climax showcased the remaining 4 hikers, their faces pale and eyes wide with terror, huddled close. Their breaths were short and their voices shaky. Every sound from the wilderness was a potential sign of Yuki or something far more sinister. And just as one of them whispered, "What if the legend?" the camera's battery gave out, shrouding their final moments in haunting ambiguity. The hikers vanished without a trace. When dawn broke, a rescue team, instigated by frantic calls from the families, scoured the mountain. But all their efforts bore minimal results. At the campsite, they found an eerily quiet scene, a tent that seemed to have been hastily abandoned, the video camera bearing its silent testimony, and a solitary hiking boot. The boot, stained with mud and oddly positioned, was identified as Yuki's. Whispers in the village grew louder, with many locals nodding knowingly, suggesting that the group had indeed found the legendary 25th step, and Yuki, with her playful hopping, might have been the one to seal their fates. The forested expanse of Mount Haguro, with its centuries-old legends, had claimed another tale, leaving behind a chilling mystery that would haunt the community for generations. The Mount Haguro legend resurfaced with a vengeance. Locals whispered about the wrath of mountain spirits, angered by the playful irreverence of the hikers. Tourists were warned to stay away from the steps at dusk. The mysterious disappearance of the hikers remains one of Japan's most haunting unsolved cases. Mount Haguro, with its ancient shrines and legends, stands as a silent witness to a tale that melds the boundaries between our world and the one beyond. In 1982, the majestic Himalayan ranges in northern India became the setting of a harrowing tale. Kedarnath, renowned for its ancient temple dedicated to Lord Shiva, has always been a popular pilgrimage site. But for a group of 6 hikers from different parts of the world, the lure was not religious. It was the challenge of the rugged terrains and breathtaking landscapes. In the luminescent embrace of early May, when the lingering snow reluctantly began its retreat, the hikers embarked on their journey. The melting frost unveiled a labyrinth of trails weaving through lush meadows teeming with wildflowers and dense verdant forests, their canopies filtering the sun's rays into a myriad of dancing patterns. Rajan, a seasoned local guide with wrinkles etched by mountain winds and sun, was their beacon. His deep-set eyes held tales of both reverence and warning. "This land," he'd murmur every morning as they set out, "is ancient, and its spirits even more so. Tread lightly and with respect." By the 4th day, their path led them to an unexpected discovery. Nestled amidst a secluded grove of gnarled trees stood a hut, its time-worn wooden frame cloaked in a shroud of moss. It looked as if the forest itself had birthed this relic from a bygone era. Intrigued by the serendipitous find, the hikers' curiosity overpowered any apprehensions. They cautiously entered the abode. The interior was dimly lit, with the scarce sunlight revealing walls adorned with cryptic symbols. Their fingers traced the enigmatic engravings, trying to decipher their meaning. Amid the musty aroma of aged wood, they found a tattered diary, its pages yellowed and fragile. The writing spoke of a clandestine trail leading to an obscured valley, a sanctuary for spirits lost in time. Rajan, upon glancing at the diary, grew visibly tense. His voice, thick with concern, implored them to steer clear of such pursuits. "Some secrets," he whispered, "are nestled in the heart of these mountains for a reason." But the allure of the unknown was irresistible. Driven by a heady mix of thrill and insatiable curiosity, they chose to ignore Rajan's warnings. Guided by the cryptic clues of the diary, they veered off the beaten path, venturing into territories where no modern souls had tread. The deeper they journeyed, the more palpable the shift in the atmosphere became. The once melodious birdsong that accompanied them ceased, replaced by an eerie silence. The cool mountain breeze gradually transformed into an icy gust that seemed to breathe whispers from another realm, their names pronounced with a chilling intimacy. Days blurred into one another as they persevered, until finally, the elusive valley sprawled before them. But it was a sight that sent shivers down their spines. A blanket of mist clung to the ground, so thick that it seemed to be concealing the very secrets they sought. Instead of the familiar rustle of trees, a sea of towering ancient stone statues greeted them. Each meticulously crafted face on these monoliths bore emotions so vivid, so raw, that for a moment the hikers wondered if they were frozen witnesses from ages past, their last sentiments immortalized for eternity. Anguish, despair, euphoria, and longing emotions so powerful that the very air grew heavy. The hikers stood at the threshold of a world forgotten, wondering if they had ventured too far into the heart of the mountain's mysteries. The sinking sun cast elongated shadows across the valley, melding with the looming presence of the statues. Among the myriad of carved faces, Anna's gaze fixated on one figure. Its countenance was hauntingly familiar, a mirror of a backpacker they'd encountered at the onset of their expedition. He'd been a tall, gaunt figure, with sunken eyes that held an unsettling intensity. He'd woven them tales of the treacherous paths, of hikers lost to the wilderness, their fates sealed by their own reckless curiosity. The group had laughed it off, assuming it was a mere yarn spun to spook gullible adventurers. Yet now, the stone visage bearing an uncanny resemblance to the man sent a jolt of dread through Anna. As the sky painted hues of twilight, the group, against better judgment, decided to make camp amidst the statues. The dying embers of the day, replaced by the flickering light of their campfire, painted a grotesque dance of shadows upon the statues. The atmosphere grew thick with tension. An otherworldly chill pervaded the air, causing the flames to waver and their breaths to mist. In the silence of the night, it began, a soft, indistinct murmur. With growing horror, the hikers realized the whispers emanated from the statues themselves. The stone behemoths recounted tales, not in words but in haunting laments and cries, of souls ensnared, their lives crystallized in stone for eternity. Tales of ambition, wanderlust, and hubris that led many like them into the valley's treacherous embrace. Sleep eluded them. Every rustle, every whisper heightened their paranoia. And when dawn's first light pierced the horizon, it illuminated a scene of utter horror. 2 tents lay vacant. In their stead, a pair of fresh statues had emerged, their expressions a tableau of pure, unadulterated terror. They were unmistakably their comrades, now trapped forever in cold, unyielding stone. Overwhelmed by grief and fear, the surviving members, including a shaken Rajan who had time and again cautioned against such follies, scrambled to exit this cursed land. Their feet pounded against the earth, hearts racing as they retraced their steps in desperate haste. When they stumbled into the town of Kedarnath, their gaunt faces and haunted eyes told a tale even before their lips could. The locals gathered around, their expressions a mix of pity and solemn understanding. The elder of the town, a wizened old man with deep lines crisscrossing his face, nodded gravely. "You've witnessed the wrath of the valley," he murmured, his voice heavy with sorrow. "For generations we've known and respected its boundaries. It guards its secrets fiercely, and those who defy it pay the price." The hikers' harrowing experience became yet another chapter in the annals of legends surrounding the valley, a grim testament to the age-old adage, "Some places on Earth are not meant for humans to tread." To this day, trekkers are advised to steer clear of the forsaken trail leading to that hidden valley. While many dismiss it as a mere legend, others swear by the ominous presence they've felt when straying too close. The Himalayas, with their grandeur, also hold dark secrets, warning adventurers that there are places man is not meant to tread. Every shadow hides a story, every whisper carries a secret. As today's eerie tale concludes, remember, the mysteries of our world are endless. Join us again for another dark tale on Creepy Narratives.